All right, so we are going to get started. All right, so official welcome and hello, everybody. It is so nice to be here with you today, and welcome to our 2022 season finale webinar. My name is JoJo, and I am the community manager here at Bandsintown. Some of you may actually recognize me from the artist community or the chat during our webinars or live streams. And I will admit that it feels a little bit weird to be on the other side today, but it does feel nice and I feel honored to be able to share this with you. So before we dive into a bit of housekeeping and what to expect today, I'd actually love to hear from you guys in the chat. So drop a 1 if this is your first webinar that you've ever attended with us, and drop a 2 if you've attended more than one webinar with us in the past. Aw. Stephen and Willow, welcome. Pierre, welcome. So great to see new faces here. 5-ish. Wow, Sarah, you've attended quite a bit. I love it. Aw, so great. So nice to see new faces here, and those of you that are new, welcome. And those of you that are returning, thank you so much for supporting these monthly educational sessions that we put on for our artist community. So just a little bit of housekeeping. This session is being recorded, so we will go ahead and send the link to watch the replay in an email after this session. And as always, too, it will be available in our artist community video library. Second thing is the chat might be set to hosts and panelists as your default. So if you want to communicate with everyone in the chat, just make sure that your setting is set to everyone so we can see exactly what you have to say. So following our panel today, we'll actually have a live Q&A. So as you're watching the sessions, if any questions come to mind, just drop them in the chat and we'll do our best to answer them towards the end. So our goal with this session is to really inspire you to reflect on 2022 and to think about what's ahead for you in 2023. So I want to remind everybody, though, that this exercise can really be done at any time of the year, but there is something special about the month of December that just kind of kickstarts this for us. So as you're listening to our panelists talk about their 2022 victories and lessons learned and what their goals are for 2023, we encourage you to use this time to also do the same for yourself. So don't be shy about sharing what's on your mind. The chat is a great place to kind of get your thoughts flowing. And that's what we're really all here for today, is to connect and reflect with each other. So, and if you can stay until the end, I will say that you'll be treated to live performances by George Coe and Sarah Lightman. So if you can, stay until the end to catch it, but if not, don't worry, we got you with the replay. And I think this may also be a webinar first for us. I'm not sure if we've had live performances on our webinars before. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my co-host, Bruce Houghton, to the stage. So send some claps for Bruce.
No. Hi, JoJo. Good to see you. Hi, everybody.
Everybody use your emojis to clap. Amazing. So some of you may actually might have been expecting Michael Brandwald, but unfortunately he's unable to make it here today with us. But we're thrilled that Bruce is able to join us. And some of you also may recognize Bruce from our Intro to Grassroots Touring webinar, which I know a ton of you found value from. He is also the president and founder of Skyline Agency and the president and editor of Hypebot and Music Think Tank, and also our senior advisor here at Bandsintown. So just an incredible person overall, but we're just so honored to have you, and just, you share so much knowledge and wisdom with us all the time. So
well, thank you for having me.
What? Sorry, go ahead, Bruce.
No, thank you for having me. Go for it.
Of course. And now I'd like to, hi Moo, Cassidy, so great to see you. I'd like to welcome our panelists to the stage, actually. So I've had the pleasure of getting to know these 4 people that are incredibly talented artists and industry pros over the past year in our artist community. And honestly, it's been such an honor to get to know them and learn how dedicated they are to music and how much they're just wanting to share their passions with the world. So send some claps as we welcome each of our panelists to the stage. So first we have George Coe. I'll let George come on screen. Hi, George. Welcome. So George is an incredibly talented concert pianist, composer, and classical improviser. He's also an independent musician and a full-time musician as well. And then we also have Sarah Lightman. Sarah, amazing. Hi, Sarah. And Sarah is also an incredibly talented artist. She's a recording artist, singer-songwriter, mental health advocate, also an independent artist and full-time musician. Then we have Scott Durbin. Welcome, Scott. Great to see you. So Scott is actually 1/4 of the Imaginations Movers, and he's the assistant professor and coordinator at the music business program at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette as well. So thrilled to have you. And then last but certainly not least, we have Adele McAlear. Did I get it right? Yes. No, no, McAlear. I'm sorry, Adele McAlear. Perfect. And she's also super talented and manages an artist that is actually an independent artist in the neo soul jazz genre. His name is Zatska, and Adele is also a music marketing consultant. So great. Amazing. So nice to have you here. So we're going to go ahead and dive into our panel. So I'll let each of these guests that we have talk about each of these topics that we have, but we'll start off with our 2022 victories. And I know that it has been quite of a year this year, probably one with a lot of adjustments to say the least. But I think it's important to take the time to acknowledge and celebrate our wins. So we'll go ahead and start off with George and just talk about a little bit about your victories for this year.
Well, thanks, Jojo, and thanks, Bruce, for being our co-hosts for this panel. And I'm so excited to be joined by such talented industry professionals and artists. I can't wait to hear what everyone says. And thanks, Rachel, for also producing the event. All right, victories. Well, when you're an independent full-time musician, as Jojo mentioned about me, there's a lot of ups and downs. So you have to definitely take the ups, and sometimes you have to take a down and turn into an up. So I remember at the beginning of the year 2022, I was the only piano act left in Seattle, like on tour, because of Omicron. They canceled every show, and I think the venue was struggling, and so just to keep their audience alive, they begged me to keep my January show, and I wanted to cancel it. And I told them this show's gonna suck because right now it's peak Omicron, and no one's gonna come to our show. They said okay. We went to the I still performed the full set, and I think 8 people showed up. And it was the worst show I've ever played in my, like, in terms of audience attendance. It was the worst I've ever seen the whole tour. But I think fans, like, building like a community is not about numbers. I really believe in you win one fan at a time with your music. And so I played to all those 8 people like I would if I played in a 1,000-seat concert hall. And so going in, I think the top of the show, I thought, oh man, this really sucks. But then out of it, because it was so intimate, people came up to me afterwards and were telling me about how great it was to hear live music again. And they know that I was really, like, it's really brave for artists to go through the pandemic and also still perform. And so that was an amazing experience. And then I realized, wow, I was actually being kind of a Debbie Downer. Like what a victory it is to first be invited to play to Seattle tour during Omicron. And then people were brave enough to come listen to your show, and then brave enough to talk to you after the show and tell you how your music, like what it did for them. So like, I think that started like a chain of victories for me. And I'm just super grateful. Like there's so many great victories of, like, I think I'm wrapping up my LA tour. So by the end of the year, it will be 40 shows. And like, that's like such a huge victory. I released an album, an EP, 3 singles, and a Christmas single. I wrote music for Netflix, but they ended up not picking it up. So I can talk about it now. I wrote music for Avatar: The Last Airbender, but they didn't want it. So, but I got to do it. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, another big victory is just getting like really meaningful fan DMs of like how my music helped them throughout the pandemic and the year, and fans coming up to me telling me that they hated the piano and their Asian parents forced them to do it. I was one of the kids that had Asian parents that forced me to play piano, but they love it now and they went to Guitar Center, bought a piano. Those are like all massive victories. And so yeah, for me, that was it. It was like, I think like all of us struggling through the pandemic, there's so much to be realistically like bummed out about, right? It's still really hard, you know. And we can talk about like finances and stuff too if we want to get to the real nitty gritty. But I think the victories was just the fact that I could live and breathe music and keep the Crazy Pony show going and continue to inspire people. And that was like the biggest victory. So I know that was me, very long-winded answer, but Sarah, I'm sure we'd love to hear from you on your victories.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like some of mine are similar in different ways. Thank you so much for your share. Appreciate it. It was awesome. Yeah, let's see. At the beginning of this year, I moved cross country from LA to Nashville. I'm not from LA, but I lived there for a long time and I still consider it another home. And I started my life over, almost from zero. I knew a couple people out here, had a couple connections, but it was pretty fresh. So I hopped in the car. My brother helped me move. I have 2 cats, so that was an interesting thing as well. I've never done that before, moved 2 cats. It was interesting, but started from zero. And you know, as a musician, I got started out as a street performer. So back in 2016, I was like, all right, I'm just going to try this. And then I was like, I really like this. I think I'm just going to quit everything else and just do music. So I slowly worked my way into doing that. And then the pandemic hit. And then I was like, all right, what can I do now? Because I can't really, you know, and I also went through vocal surgery during a pandemic and pretty intensive therapy. So I went through a lot of things. I lived like 10 lives. And brought myself to Nashville to have a fresh start and start over. And it's been really rewarding. The community here has been very, very, very kind. When I got here, I had recently, right before the move, been accepted to be a part of the first collective of the Twitch Music Collective music department. So that was really cool. They gave me a lot of tools to be my best streamer, but creative, and learn how to not get burnout and a bunch of other things, a lot of technical stuff. A lot of great community came out of it too, and friends. And it was really cool to get to know the Twitch staff as well in the music department. So I did that. And then you do whatever you can when you get here. People say, oh, are you going to go play on Broadway? Broadway's not good to play at, but it's a rite of passage. So I had an audition for Margaritaville. I worked there for 2 minutes and then I was like, this is below my worth of pay and time. So I decided to move on to other things. And when you're new in town, you just kind of pick up whatever you can. And I didn't want a 9-to-5 job. It just made my soul cringe. So I couldn't, it was a back step for me. So I decided to just stick it out and just do that, and then do the Twitch thing. And I was building my community and met a lot of really great people doing it, a lot of amazing fans and friends. I even started my own community called the Nashville Stream Team. And sometimes we'll do raid trains, but mostly it's just a supportive community to connect and, connect with other colleagues and see, how we can support each other, or not. Like, either way, it's just about having people and having that thing in common. So I did that. That's an accomplishment. Pandemic, lots of ups and downs. I did a lot of internal healing work therapeutically, but even as a musician, I had a manager when I moved here. He's not based here. I let him go. It wasn't working and I knew it would hold myself back. So to me, that's an accomplishment. Like, yes, I am starting literally from zero, team over and all that stuff. And yes, former producers that I worked with other places, likely not using most of them again. But sometimes that's a win, because when you get rid of the things that no longer serve you, it clears up all that space for all the possibilities within the unknown that can serve you, like 100%. So for me, that was a big win. And then I just got word today that the song I'm going to be performing that I recently released, the fully produced version, is not out. I was having a rights issue and I walked into a deal that wasn't good for me. And that's a long story for another time. But to me, that's a win, because I'm going to be doing the Swiftie thing and reproducing it exactly of a cover with a different producer. So that way the rights are good and I don't have to use that entity. So these are my wins. And my other, all just to sum it up together, is just leveling up. So thank you guys.
Thank you for sharing. Adele.
Okay, hi. I'll try and whip through these in the interest of time. So I manage an Irish artist, and it's tough when you're in Ireland, because it's unlike the States. You can't just hop in a van and go touring for, ages, because it only takes 3 hours to cross the country. So it being a very small country, we have to concentrate on trying to get out of the country and like fly somewhere. So the goal was this year was to release the second album, which we had 6 singles before the album dropped in October. So there's quite a lot of promotion going on through the year. And then that was culminating with a live launch party in Dublin on the 30th of October. And during this whole year, I had kind of pinpointed another artist in the UK, which is our next target market. And this artist is doing very, very well in our genre. And he's got his own label. So I kind of pinpointed this guy, went after him. We secured a licensing and distribution deal. And through that meant that we got onto Apple Music playlists, and we'd never playlisted on Apple Music before. So we landed on 5 substantial Apple Music playlists with 2 singles. And so one of those singles has about 100,000 streams from that, and the other one has about 50,000, which isn't unusual for this artist, but it's unusual for us on Apple Music, like astounding. So that meant that led to first play on KCRW, which was a complete surprise to us. And then also growing an audience in Japan, which is huge in our genre. So a lot of great things happened from that. One of the things that we found was happening was we were running out of time, because there were so many singles coming out this year. And there's only 2 of us on the team. It's just myself and the artist. So, and I do the PR. So I was running out of time. I just didn't have time to get all the PR done in the way that I would have liked to have done. So leading up to the album launch, I knew I wasn't going to have the time to pitch for a lot of album reviews prior to the album dropping. So I took a big gamble, and through the whole year, I was nurturing this one journalist at a substantial newspaper in Ireland, and just prayed at the very end that we would get an album review. And we got the album review on the day of release, and it was a 4-star review. So the gamble paid off, but I didn't have time to do a lot of other pitching. So I was like, oh, thank you. In addition to that, in my other work, so I manage this one artist in Ireland, but I also do music marketing consulting with a variety of artists. And last December, I'd done a promotion where I gave free 45-minute consulting sessions. I'm actually doing it this semester, this December as well. And out of that crop of consultations last year, one of the people I worked with got a publishing deal. Another person I worked with produced his first major music video. And then shortly following that, I started working with another Irish artist who's actually based in Canada, and helping her with kind of a marketing strategy and management support as she did a cross-country tour by bicycle, solo bicycle, cross-country Canada tour, 5,600 kilometers. I think she's in the chat too. So anyway, those were my wins this past year. Over to you, Scott.
Hey, so I'm Scott from the Imagination Movers. People call me Mover Scott sometimes as well. And so a little bit about us, we actually celebrated our 20th year, our 20th anniversary this past June as the Movers. So we were DIY, and then, of course, we did our Disney deal. And then since 2012 have been DIY. And I think some of the highlights for us this year is we had a song on Spotify that was, and it still is right now, averaging about a million streams per month, called Watermelon Meow Meow, which is not really a song, but it's more of a weird skit. But I think it goes to show you that, even your old catalog can kind of breathe fresh life in your life as an artist. And so never discount even those old songs that are like somehow seem kind of forgotten, but it struck a chord. And so we're like pleased as punches, that's done so well. We reclaimed our first 3 independent albums from Disney. So that was a big deal. And I think if you ever dance with the 800-pound gorilla, which is Disney, you have to really kind of maneuver. And so it's not as easy to like get that back and have people be on time with what they're responsible to do. And we took all of the things that are coming back to us that we control, which is a big deal as an artist. We did a distribution deal with the Orchard. And so it's been helpful in just kind of, organizing our assets, and then also tapping into label services that the Orchard provides via the Sony umbrella. I did my first licensing deal with Volatile Skateboard. So there's an actual mover skateboard. So if there's any boarders out there, you can do a 360 on a mover skateboard, which is kind of strange because, we have 2 audiences. We have obviously our main demo, which is really 5 to 10. And then we have this secondary demo, which is really kids who are like 16 to 20 that kind of grew up with us. And so, we played at Austin City Limits Music Festival not too long ago, and half our audience were 18 and half were 8. So it's this weird kind of dynamic, but we're so blessed and fortunate that we had 2 audiences in that respect, and are always thankful for anyone who comes and listens to our music or pays attention to what we're doing. I think one of the things that has been a core that has led us to what we've, been able to accomplish, it has always been the idea that we treat kids as creators instead of consumers. And then that's always been something that has helped us, but of course also hindered us with Disney, because, when you go and perform a concert and they want an intermission to sell merch, you're like, no, that's not what we believe in. Then you kind of fight those battles. But, and then as a professor, I'll make 2 highlights. There's a hip hop collective that was born out of our industry, our program at UL, that are breaking down barriers, like racial barriers in Lafayette, Louisiana, to be able to play at certain places. A hip hop show, you're dealing with insurance, you're dealing with venue managers and booking agents who are like skeptical about doing that, but they've done an amazing job, and that's Good Problems. And Janaki, who's an amazing rapper out of that collective, hopefully has a bright future ahead. And then there's a band called Lovers, which is has come in and done a lot of workshops with students, because they're doing it and they're a little bit more age close than the Movers are, although all my students kind of enjoy all of our stories, both now and past stories. So those are some wins, for me, I think.
My daughter's a huge fan, by the way.
I know. I'm going to send your daughter this Warehouse Mouse after we're finished.
So before we jump into the next round, which is lessons learned, if you will, and then followed by what's ahead. I want to just highlight something that I see in each of these people, and I'm only going to ask one of you about it. So, and that is just this idea that you each have taken a very unique path to being a musician and to making a living in music, and it's a kind of a multifaceted path. Scott, obviously, you know, children artist, musician, college professor, etc. Adele is in Montreal managing a Irish artist who isn't Celtic, and then also helping making, neo soul, if I'm right. Is that right, Adele? And making a living, or part of her living is being a music marketer. George, I mean, just the idea that you can make a living as a classical pianist, solo pianist is almost, outside of the traditional symphony world is almost unheard of, but obviously you're doing it in all kinds of creative ways. But I want to just jump on Sarah, if you don't mind unmuting for a minute. And just, I was looking at your site and I see you make money in all kinds, you could say, oh, Sarah, she's a singer-songwriter, and she is. But I also see she's a Twitch artist doing licensing, Patreon. Do you just sort of jump in and try and see what works? Has that been your method?
I'm very open to, if it sounds like a good idea, I go and see if it's a good fit. And then if not, I'm like, well, I tried it. I don't regret it. And I'll move on to the next thing. I feel like as an artist right now, maybe it's because of the pandemic, I don't really know. But I really started to focus on online a lot more than I used to. And I used to be on Periscope before that died, and I didn't know how to use it. I felt so shy having people watch me on the street just like sing to nobody. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, I'm gonna try to get better at this live streaming thing, because I can't go out and play at a venue and all my other gigs are canceled. So I'm just gonna try that. And so I got into Twitch. At first I was sort of let down by it and overwhelmed by the formatting. And then I tried streaming on Instagram and Facebook and everything. And that was like the one avenue where I just felt like in my gut, like a yes, like this is cool. We like you. So I was like, all right, I'm going to just follow that. And I'm going to try the Twitch thing. And it's been super great. With Patreon, I had heard about Patreon a while ago. I'm still working on how to utilize it as best I can, because I'm only one person, one team wearing all the hats right now. But I feel like it's super important to do the best you can to set yourself up for that passive income, because there's so much that goes behind performing that nobody sees. And just having that extra, even if it's just like a couple $100 a month or whatever, $20 a month, when you're starting out, people just want to find ways to connect with you and support you. And so when you give them an opportunity to basically, it's like a love language to say, we appreciate you, we just want to support you, we want to be a part of this. It's a great avenue to open that up. I've had people be like, oh, do you have this? Do you have that? And I'm like, no, but I'll look into it. And so I'll try it on stream with my community on Twitch. They'll be like, what about this? And I'm like, you know what? I'll think about it. I'll try it. I don't always say yes to every single thing, especially not every song request, because that's always gonna be an issue. A good issue, if you will. But it's just the openness to yes and, which is an improv exercise I guess some people learn in like acting and stuff, is definitely a great perspective to just not be afraid to just get outside of your comfort zone and try things. For Sync, I haven't landed any placements yet. I've had a couple partnerships, but I have a feeling it's going to take off. It's just the persistence of keep going and being open while you do it in a way. And that meaning also choosing to say yes to things that you think might align with you is also very important. So there are definitely things I've said no to a lot. But yeah, so for online, Twitch and then Discord, super great, because if people want to be like super in touch with you, it's almost kind of like WhatsApp, but not. It's like a hang where people can hang out and they can have an experience. Sometimes people watch movies. There's so much you can do. And even Discord has this subscriber option as well, in addition to Twitch and Patreon now, and you can like decide things. So
That's
it's a
awesome. I think just the idea that you're in Nashville, where there's all this in-person high touch stuff you can be doing, and I'm sure doing a lot of, but you haven't ignored the online and all the various opportunities. I think it's just awesome. So, all right, we've got a lot to cover. So I think we go to round 2, JoJo. Is that what happens next?
Yes. So, wow, thank you so much, everybody, for sharing. And I hope that each of you feel so proud of everything that you've accomplished this year, because it's a lot that you've done. So congratulations. And to those of you that were sharing in the chat too, I hope that you're also feeling proud of yourselves. So next we'll move on to lessons learned, and I'm going to change it to lesson just to one because of the sake of time. So what was the biggest lesson that you learned this year? And if you need a moment, but we'll start off with George.
The biggest lesson. Wow, it's just like it's like a college graduation again. I guess the biggest lesson I learned is no one cares about your career as much as you do. And whenever you get help, it's a privilege, and it should never be expected. And I think like I used to be in tech, so or media and run businesses that way. I think when money becomes the main motivator, it's very different, and that has a different relationship with the people you work with. But when you're in the arts, like with music, when people help you, it's like wow, you're not gonna gain financially whatsoever from helping me. You're helping me because you want to help me. And I think having that mind shift, and I would say even like a heart shift, is really important. And so yeah, I would say that's the biggest lesson I learned, is that like people will never care about your career as much as you do. And so when people do help you, that really means a lot. And even if it's just like 0.5% of help, take it and be grateful for it. But then I used to be someone who'd like push for more help, but now I'm like, no, I will take what I get, and I will be so grateful for it. And of course, like, this is my career. I'm taking on this crazy dream. I'm going to figure out how to do this. But if you're building a community and like fans reach out and stuff like that, and they're willing to put their time and money or energy into your career, then take all of that with pure gratitude. And I think that will evolve into something greater. So yeah, I would just say that you're the person that cares about your career, and whenever someone offers you help, it's a privilege, and be extraordinarily grateful. But yeah.
Thank you so much. Love that. Sarah, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I agree with that, definitely. I feel like for me, it's so hard to just choose one. I feel like I learned like 20 things. But I feel like a lot of it for me is just sort of to trust yourself and your gut and your vision, and own that, hold that, stand in that, because I think it allows for everything else to open up, to shift towards the things that are meant for you, the fans that are meant for you, the money, the whatever it is that you're goal setting for. I think a lot of it is that, and making sure that all of that really lines up with your heart as well. I feel like we get so caught in our heads, especially as creatives, and there's a lot of rules, but there's also a lot of not rules. So I feel like that's what I would say, is just, follow your instincts 100%.
Lessons. Okay. The pandemic changed everything, and we've heard that a million times, but it's really important to remember that it's going to take a while for things to get back to the way they used to be, if they ever do. And I'm speaking specifically of the album launch party that we were planning at the end of October. We had booked a venue, paid for a venue, put a deposit down on a 550 cap venue that we sold out without trouble for the first album launch. And so we figured it would be the same. No, tickets were so slow in moving, and it wasn't a reflection of the artist's popularity, but a reflection of two main factors. One was the overabundance of people touring through the summer and into the fall, and the fact that, combined with people's economic uncertainty heading into the fall and the winter, and people just weren't spending. They'd seen their concerts, or they'd been to their festivals through the summer, and they weren't spending. So the lesson here was to remember to be agile and pivot when you need to. We ended up moving venues a week before the launch gig in order to, we lost money, but the new venue was full. It had the vibe that we wanted. It attracted a lot of really positive attention, including an industry influencer who had been at the show, who was so impressed with the show that plastered it all over social media. So this was great. This was a win. But we really had to, think fast on our feet to get out of that situation. And yeah, okay, we lost money, but in the end, it looked good. It came off well. Nobody had COVID, and it was great.
And I think for me, it was funny because, George, I have essentially what you said right here was my first note. But I think for us, as an artist, or us, we're a band, we represent the intersection of art and commerce. And so, it really is a balance of those, because I can easily go to the business side and forget the joy of creating, because you're so dealing, like with what Sarah mentioned, wearing so many hats that, you're doing social media, you're doing this, that you forget just the power of the creative spirit and how life-giving and life-affirming that is. And so it's always really to put that in perspective, that yes, we are a business, but we're an artist, and it really is this balance. And that, really, as part of that is, like, touring has become increasingly difficult. The margins of profit are tighter and tighter. And I think that's why Bandsintown is such a wonderful, wonderful platform, because it, students need, my students, which I try to encourage them to use, but really every DIY artist or artist in general needs to really supplement what they do with platforms that are willingly there to help and be useful tools as they progress. And so those are my, I gave you 2 lessons learned. So.
Thank you, Scott. You snuck in an extra one.
Yeah, I did. Lanyap.
Wow. Yeah, these are, important things to reflect on, because I feel like lessons just help us to be better. They make us stronger. And sometimes it's not easy to think about these things and talk about them, but really, really important to reflect on them. And with that, we're going to talk about what's ahead for you in 2023, because I'm sure some of these lessons and these wins have kind of influenced your trajectory for next year. So would love to hear what you have planned for next year. So we'll start with George.
Yeah. What do I have planned for next year? Okay. Just running through my brain. There's like a couple things, like I think like a goal would be, like, I was signed by a European agency this year. So like the goal next year, thank you guys so much. The goal next year would be to be signed by an American agency. I've had discussions. I mean, this could be another topic one day. I had a discussion with a very, 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 very famous talent agency in LA that told me I wasn't urban enough for their demographic, which was cool to hear. In 2022, so definitely not gonna work with that agency. Uh, but I think like being American, that's like that would be huge to be signed by an American talent or artist management company. And then the biggest project for next year I'm really looking forward to is I'm doing a new album with my producer, Dan the Automator. And so we're going to be trying to get that into Atlantic or Universal. So like that's like a whole project. I'm going on my first true European tour in April. And then doing the Pacific Northwest in May, and then I have no idea what's gonna happen after that. So that's the life of an artist, unpredictability. But like for me, like the goal would be to get signed by an American agency. And then the big thing I'm really looking forward to is making this album with Dan. So that'll be a lot of fun.
That sounds really cool. Yeah, for me, I mentioned music. I'm going to be releasing a lot of music depending on how I strategize that release. So that's part of it. And then for me, I really want to focus on, I haven't really dabbled into marketing very much, marketing my music beyond what I could do by myself or with someone I know or community I know or local stuff. So it's going to be definitely a whole new animal of going even deeper into the internet and the online world of just doing a lot of marketing and strategizing that, building up my numbers, building up not just as a content creator, because I don't want to just do that because then I'll get burnt out, but also translating that into the live scene, building up my draw up to, I'm hoping, I'm just going to say it like 500. That's my goal. It's like 500 draw wherever I decide to tour by the end of the year or play a show. Definitely break out into more festivals. I just booked with a festival I played with last year, the Water Lantern Festival, and I booked a couple of dates. So I'm excited for that to return and have that on the res that I've been invited to come back and do a couple different cities. And then other than that, it's just growing and increasing from where I am and in hopes to attract a good booking agent and to attract a management team as well at the right time. So that's kind of where I am. And of course, it all goes back to the audience. So main thing for me is audience, 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 audience. So that's where I am. Thank you.
2023 is about trying to get into the UK market more. As I've been saying with this artist for 5 years, we've got to get you off that damn island. So as much as I love Ireland, it's a very small market. So he needs to get over the UK more. And in order to do that, we know it's going to be an investment because, as everybody knows, touring is very difficult to make money these days, especially if you're a developing artist and you're developing an audience in a new territory. So one of the things that we will be looking at is finding new sources of funding and exploring some new grant opportunities. Fortunately, Ireland and even the European Union have some really great grant opportunities for Europeans. So looking at more grants and looking at trying to find some more sponsorship and doing some brand partnerships that might help to pay some bills to try and launch a UK tour.
Awesome. I think for us, we are super excited. We're going to drop 2 new projects in 2023. We have a new album that's going to be coming out. We're actually recording it now at Studio in the Country. So we're trying to like funnel that kind of Stevie Wonder, Kansas. I mean, everybody from Cinderella to Frankie Beverly and Maze have recorded there and, absorb some of that amazing positive energy. But we're super excited about this album. 11 ditties that will hopefully that hit everything from being earnest to silly songs. It's kind of a great collection. You can feel it in your bones, when it authenticates itself, your ears and your heart. And then we're releasing a compilation. So like I mentioned, we spent 20 years, celebrated 20 years this June. So we have favorite artists, and we kind of reached out and we asked if they would cover a song and we would release it. So, we have like Mustard Plug, which is a, kind of a ska band that's really kind of known in that genre, are doing a song. And we have Laundry Day, which is a Brooklyn kind of alt band that is going to do a song. So we're going to release 7 songs from artists that we love. What is the name for those bands? Well, the Coveralls is the name because, we're known from our blue jumpsuits is the name of the album. But we have Laundry Day. We have Carbon Leaf, which does kind of Celtic Americana. Royal Teeth, which is locally, I guess regionally here. They had a big hit called Wild back in the day, and some other bands. So it's I'm looking forward to supporting what they did on our behalf, and those are 2 cool things that we have coming up. I'm excited. So
That's awesome. Thank you, Scott, and thanks for putting the band Kansas and Stevie Wonder in the same sentence. That may never happen again. Most of you are too young to even know who that is, but it's basically an arena rock band and an R&B legend and channeling at the same time. The other thing for everybody, I loved hearing how kind of grateful everybody was, but also or is, and also how realistic you are about your goals. I mean, for Sarah to say, I want to make $500 a night, and to say it out loud is both, brave and smart, in my humble opinion. It's, if she can do that, then she can probably pay her mortgage, or pay her rent. So I think that's really awesome. I got a couple questions, but there was one in the chat, and Sarah, this might be for you, but maybe others of you are doing as well. And that was, somebody asked if there was 500 draw. I'm sorry, you want 500 people, not $500. I'm a bad listener. I'm sorry. Anyway, the question for Sarah was from or anybody from the chat was, is Patreon worth doing if you have a fairly small following? In this instance, it was 2,000 followers. I'm not sure on what platform, but or do you believe, Sarah, or anybody else that's doing Patreon on this call, that you should wait?
It depends on what you're trying to get out of it. For me, I was just trying to just build on what I already have. I don't have that big of a following right now. Combined all the platforms together, probably around like 6,000, which isn't really big. On Twitch, I have like almost 2,500, through a little over 3,000 for Instagram. And I feel like half of those accounts are dead at this point because Instagram has become wild. TikTok, I'm reaching towards 1,000 soon. But again, like, there's no right answer or right time. The right time is always now. So you go from where you are, and people like to see you evolve. And that's the whole thing about Patreon, is people want to be a part of your process. So it's just a matter of asking yourself, is it the right move for me? Yes or no? Listen to your body. And am I worth the effort and the work to put into it? And there, your answer will come from that.
Awesome. Does anybody else use Patreon?
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in. I agree with Sarah on everything. I actually started out the way I play the piano now on Clubhouse when it was like really popular in the pandemic, and I went from 0 to 4,000 in like 3 weeks, and then it just died. And when I started noticing it was dying, like kind of Sarah saying, it was like, when you know something's dying, you gotta, or Adele was mentioning this, you gotta pivot. So I just started begging everyone to sign up on my email newsletter and follow Instagram. And I think with Patreon, I think someone mentioned like less than 2,000 followers. If you have 2,000 followers on Patreon, that's amazing, because they're paying $1 a month. That's $2,000 a month doing nothing. That's awesome. So if you can hit 2,000 followers on Patreon, more power to you. And yeah, I agree with Sarah. Like, I think it's finding out what platform fits for you and sticking with it, and knowing all the nuances and knowing when to pivot. Like for me, Instagram has been the most impactful and powerful tool. So I built my Instagram completely organically, and I have a very clear like business mindset of funneling my fans to buying tickets or merchandise, or giving me virtual tips, and then interacting with my fans there. But every artist is different. Like for me, I don't know, me and TikTok don't get along for some reason. I only have 60 followers on TikTok, so I'm like, I'm gonna stick with Instagram. And with Patreon, yeah, I think it's like if you can figure out a flow where you can get kind of what Sarah's saying, someone to enjoy and be a part of that journey, even that $1 a month, if you can grow it to a big enough following, that's a huge amount of passive income. Like that could be like, I don't use Patreon necessarily, but I do the virtual tip thing, and all my virtual tips I've used to buy mentors, producers, industry professionals coffee or dinner. That's what I use the money for, and that has been way more impactful than like, you know, of like 100 likes on Instagram. So definitely like figure out what's like your platform that fits for you. Know what each platform is really good for. But yeah, I love what Sarah said, like do what makes your body feel right. Like I didn't really learn that until the pandemic, and now I'm way happier. And like, yeah, maybe I could be doing a lot more content, but like I'm not burnt out anymore. So that's great. Like, so I would
Yeah,
listen to, yeah.
you can always do more, right? That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Work smarter, not harder, I think is what the line outside of music is. I think we could learn it in the music industry.
Sure.
I just want to note Liz Pomeroy, who's in the chat, who Adele works with, made the point that she does Patreon-like without Patreon, using Bandzoogle and bypassing the fees, et cetera. I mean, there's pros and cons and a million different ways to do it, but check out what Liz does. I can just go online. She's done some really interesting stuff, not just with her fan club, if you will, but some of the stuff she's done. Adele, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just really briefly, before you get into a Patreon or a fan club type situation, just really assess your available time to produce content, additional content. In addition to whatever else you do on social media, this has to be exclusive, additional content. If you've got the bandwidth that George was talking about, not burning out, just make sure you don't burn out by committing to something like a Patreon or a fan club situation, where you've got to keep that content engine going a lot. And if you don't feel like you've got the energy resources for that, or the available time for that, particularly if you have a day job, like don't do it. Don't start something you can't see through.
Awesome. Cool. I think it's time for music right now, Jojo. Is that's the plan?
Yes, I know I've been doing this a lot throughout the webinar. I'm just so happy.
You know, we do these all the time and there's never any music. And I'm thank you for doing this, and for those of you who are going to play too. So go for it, Jojo.
Yeah, no, so can't wait. So we'll start with George, who is going to play one of his originals called Avatar, actually. And he will take one request. So if anybody has a request for a song, then just go ahead and drop them in the chat, and then George will play it after. So ready, George?
Yeah, thank you, Jojo. So yeah, just to give a quick little spiel about the request thing, I'm a concert pianist, but I'm also a classical improviser. What that means is I can improvise whatever I play in my head, but I don't know how to play jazz. So it is what it is. But what I do at my shows is I love to take requests from the audience. So you can request any song from your favorite movie, musical, anime, TV show, video game, a song you listen to on Spotify, or a vibe, and I will do my very best to improvise your own very custom film soundtrack for you live. But before I do that, as Jojo mentioned, I'd like to play for you an original of mine. This is the main theme song for the new Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix that got rejected. So it wasn't good enough for them, but it's good enough for us. So yeah, I basically, this is what I envisioned the entire theme song for the show to be. And I'm just such a big fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, so I snuck in the main theme song at the very end. So see if you can hear it. But this is Avatar, and I hope you guys enjoy it. yeah, that was oh, there we go. Thank you. That was Avatar. Thank you guys so much. All right, let's see what requests we got. Okay, let's see. Do. Oh, you guys are so nice. Thank you so much. Okay. Wow, I love all the emojis. Okay, Amelie, Darth Vader. Ain't no sunshine. I can't really sing. Darth Vader. Okay, Darth Vader. Stairway to Heaven. Okay. Wow, there's a lot of, this is a very varied request list. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'll see if I can, okay, I'm gonna try to do Amelie, the Imperial March, and Stairway to Heaven somehow together. Okay. And then we get to hear the lovely Sarah after. So let me see. Okay, so Star Wars, okay, Imperial March, Amelie, and Stairway to Heaven. Okay.
Woo!
Thank you guys so much. Thank you for all the requests. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, if you'd like to see more of that, feel free to give me a follow on Instagram @_GeorgeCo. That's @_GeorGeko. I'll also put it in the chat. Yes, we're doing some selfish plugging because, hey, this webinar was free, so we got to get some stuff out of this. Oh yeah, strong call to action. It's another lesson I've learned. But anyways, up next we have the lovely Sarah doing, I think, an original or a cover. I'm not sure, but I'll let JoJo take the lead there. But just looking forward to hearing a great artist play for us today. So thank you all so much, and happy holidays.
Thank you so much, George. That was incredibly beautiful, and wow, you blew us all away. That you can see it in the chat. But yes, now we have up next Sarah Lightman, who will be doing an original, actually your latest release, and this song is called Silence. And I'll let Sarah take it away from here.
Thanks so much. And that was super beautiful. That was super beautiful, George. Yeah, this is called Silence. It's been quite a song just to put out in the way that is like the right way to put it out. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. And I learned a lot just through the process of putting out the song, writing the song, producing it, now reproducing it. And it's been an incredible process. I'm grateful for it, even though it's been very painful at the same time. And for anybody who's ever felt alone or silenced or oppressed, this is for you.
Haven't said a word in a minute, so didn't think I'd be feeling this. Oh, there are so many things circling around my mind. There were layers of sadness, tears in my eyes. We'll sing again, we'll sing again, when my voice survives. We'll sing again, is this the end? Just the first time. We'll sing again, we'll sing again. Oh, oh, no one knows. I sit alone and watch the hours fly by. Silence speaks, my voice is locked all day and all night. They read a judgment if they am right. The longer I stay silent, the louder it gets. We'll sing again, when my voice survives. We'll sing again, is this the end? Just a flash of time. We'll sing again, we'll sing again. Oh, oh, no one knows. Can't breathe, can't sleep, can't think, can't see, can't eat, can't be. Can't breathe, can't sleep, can't think without this part of me. Can't live, can't love, can't lie, can't lie, can't lie, I can't lie. We'll sing again, where my voice survives. We'll sing again, is this the end? Just a flash of time. We'll sing again, oh, oh, no one knows. Ooh, oh, ooh, oh, ooh, oh, silence. Ooh, oh, ooh, oh, ooh, oh, no, 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 no. Ooh, oh, ooh, oh, ooh, oh, silence. Ooh, oh, ooh, oh, will I stay silent?
Woo! Yay! It's so amazing.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Aw, Sarah, that was beautiful and super proud of you for sharing your story. I'm sure that was a scary time to potentially think about not being able to sing again, especially when this is your full-time thing and something you're so passionate about. So we're so glad that you're able to sing again.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's definitely it was a process. The outcome they said number-wise was good, but you just don't know until you make it through the other side what you're going to sound like. So
Yeah. Well, with that, we have come to the end of our 2022 season finale webinar. Woo, thank you so much, panelists, George, Adele, Scott, Sarah. Bruce had to hop off early, but he sends everybody his regards and says thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone in the chat. It's been so fun to watch all of you just cheer everybody on or just share something that was on your mind. And we're so grateful to have all of you here. So we hope you enjoyed this. And from all of us at Bandsintown, we wish all of you a relaxing holiday season. Maybe not so relaxing for the musicians, but hopefully you get some time to relax. And we cannot wait to see you in 2023.
Thanks, Jojo.
Thanks, Jojo. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone in the chat.
Great to meet you guys.
Definitely.
We'll see you all soon. Bye.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.